Welcome to Undercurrents, our daily news show from Unheard's Washington Bureau. Today's guest is Cenk Uygur. Subscribe here wherever you get your podcasts and over at undercurrents.tv for the full premium experience of the show. Now, yesterday morning, Politico Playbook, the hugely influential newsletter here in Washington, D.C., was delivered to inboxes on Capitol Hill and K Street and even down at Mar-a-Lago with a very interesting headline. It read, "The Dems cozying up to Elon Musk." So who are those Dems? To name a few, Elizabeth Warren, Josh Shapiro, and our previous guest on this show, Ro Khanna, Playbook reported. But beneath that headline, Playbook made it clear that not all Democrats were hopping on the Elon bandwagon, noting how Representative Maxwell Frost discussed Musk on MSNBC just a couple of days ago.
So you expect me to believe that someone like Elon Musk, who's worth over $340 billion, is going to be in charge of helping to decide what my mom's Social Security check is going to be? Mm-hmm. And so I think we really need to take this on the road to show people, and it's going to help us, of course, take the House back.
Outside the Beltway, though, this internecine battle is raging as well. Cenk Uygur, the popular host and founder of the Young Turks, has been making headlines left and right, literally and figuratively. He actually reached out to Elon Musk and said, quote, "Put me in charge of the Pentagon. I'll slash $400 billion easy. That'll get you 20% to your goal of $2 trillion right out of the gate. I went to Wharton 3 years before you. I own a media company, so I know how to run a business. If you really want to cut, put me in, coach." After Musk replied, quote, "Suggestions welcome," Cenk posted that generals should not be allowed to leave government and work for defense contractors for a period of 10 years. Donald Trump Jr. jumped in and said, "This is a great idea that has been discussed." Now that, of course, upset the bulwark, unsurprisingly, but Cenk has continued undeterred over the last several weeks, making news constantly for talking to conservatives and MAGA diehards, and even reaching out to Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan. Take this Mediaite headline as one example of how Cenk has been influencing the discourse. It said, "Cenk Uygur optimistic after Trump's victory. Quote, MAGA is not my mortal enemy. The establishment is." Now, on Wednesday night, he made a super viral and super interesting point on X, posting, quote, "Two amazing things just happened. First, I went on about half a dozen right-wing shows, and they all agreed we should cut the Pentagon, prevent generals from working for defense contractors, and Edward Snowden should be pardoned. Second, absolutely no one on the left believes them." So I knew we had to have Cenk here on Undercurrents to talk about what's possible during this very crucial moment for both the left and the right, as power shifts here in DC, and the culture shifts just about everywhere else. So, Cenk Uygur, thank you for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
This episode is sponsored by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it actually lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep, and even stress management. All you have to do, it's so easy, is breathe right into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism. Lumen will tell you if you are burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. It's so amazing. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. Again, that is incredible. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts so you can keep up your energy and stave off those cravings. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/undercurrents to get 15% off Lumen. Great deal. That is lumen.me/undercurrents for 15% off your purchase. We were talking before we went to air about whether it's possible for you to get more canceled. So I think we're going to give it a go. Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I live to get canceled. Most people are afraid of getting canceled. I live for it. So here we go. Let's do it one more time.
So, Cenk, I think you and I probably both agree the left has some good reasons to be suspicious about the right, but this is actually very real among voters and activists. When were you finally convinced?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, first of all, let me just double down on what you said there. Absolutely, they have very good reason to be skeptical. So, in the first Trump term, he talked a mean populist game, and then his major policy was giant corporate tax cuts, which is the least populist thing you could do. So he's going to have to earn credibility on that front. And now I know that the huge portions of MAGA will be like, how dare you? Trump doesn't have to prove anything to you, and he's already got all the credibility in the world, et cetera. Yeah, all right, brother, but let's actually do some populist things first, and that would be great, right? So I get that trauma, but guys, we're supposed to be the non-authoritarian ones. We're supposed to be the open-minded ones. We're supposed to be the tolerant ones. We're supposed to be the ones encouraging conversation, not shutting it down. Like, I feel like things have been forgotten that should not have been forgotten. Okay, so now that I have apparently I've appointed myself ambassador to Magaland. And so and I've got on all these shows and I return with interesting news. So obviously it's time to shoot the messenger. So the news I bring back is no, their voters mean it. Do all of their voters mean the things that they say? No, of course not. Do all of our voters agree on things? No. We've got, extreme left, we've got corporate left, we've got populist left, we've got all sorts of different people within our spectrum. And MAGA is the same way. They have different people within their spectrum. And what I'm seeing is there is a significant portion of their spectrum that actually means it. They are populist. They are anti-war. They are anti-corruption. And then when I made those specific proposals, sometimes some of the MAGA guys say back, wait a minute, this doesn't have anything to do with you. We already believe that. Yes, brothers and sisters, that's what I'm trying to explain to the left. It's not like you woke up one day and I convinced you overnight with a frickin' tweet, right? No, they already believed it. And so that's the news I'm bringing back to the left, and it has not been well received.
You said something important, that their voters are serious. Their voters mean it. Now, one of the frustrations if you're sort of populist on the right is what translates from voters and politicians to the politicians. So politicians might know now what voters want. Rand Paul said on this show a couple of days ago, Mitch McConnell is on the losing end of history. He's wrong on Ukraine, on foreign policy, and the voters know it now. But what do you see on the right in terms of are politicians willing to be serious about those populist priorities of their own voters?
I see 1.5 people who are willing to be serious. So, look, when it comes to politicians, let's be clear, let's be honest. Both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, there's a lot of proving that at least it needs to be done. They haven't proved, all right, I was going to get really crass, but they haven't proved much, let's say, or anything, really. So does the establishment Republicans still run the party in the Senate and the House? Yes. Do the establishment Democrats run the House and the Senate on their side? Absolutely, right? So can Trump break those establishment Republicans? Yes, and that's a new development, and that has not happened before in terms of American politics that I've covered. So, but does he break them for his own purposes, or does he finally break them to deliver for the base? And so some of the things that he delivers for his base, I'm not going to agree with. Some of the deportations, et cetera, right? But other things like anti-war, that's a really great question. So that's why this cutting the Pentagon question is so interesting, because every right-wing populist show I go on, every one of them goes, yes, cut the Pentagon, cut it more. We want to cut it more than you want to cut it. And so they're not lying in unison. I know the left thinks so, and they think it's a bear trap. And they're Admiral Akbar, and they're yelling at me, it's a trap, it's a trap. I know, brothers and sisters, I've been through all those wars. I've been through all those things. But these guys aren't lying. These are the voters. These are the voters. And again, you might not agree with a lot of what they think, but on the things that we agree on, it's not a trap. It's not some sort of meta trap, etc. You get it, right? But when it comes to the politicians, that's the proof is always in the pudding. So if you're part of MAGA who thinks, oh, Donald Trump's an angel and he's just definitely going to do it, everything we want, my guess is you're going to have a rude awakening, right? On the other hand, if you're on the left and you think, oh, Donald Trump is never going to listen to his base, even on the things that they agree with us on, or especially on the things that they agree with us on, and he'll never do it. Well, I'm telling you, I think there's a chance that he will. And it's, again, not angelic, not overall necessarily positive, net positive, but on some things that we agree on, I think there is some chance that Trump does it. And just saying that out loud, obviously, is heresy at this point.
The Pentagon is such an interesting case study because One of the reasons Republicans moved towards wanting more and more cuts is they saw what's considered DEI priorities, or like quote unquote woke priorities, creeping into the picture. And this is one of the things you've been talking about recently as well. So I'm curious for your take. One of the obstacles we've seen sometimes to the populist left and the populist right coming together is those culture war impasses. Do you think that wall is breaking down, or do you expect that to be a significant problem ahead?
No, it's always a significant problem. But yes, I see it cracks in that wall. In fact, one just happened yesterday that was super interesting. But first, on the culture wars, it's interesting because the populist left used to agree with this way more, but I now sense like populist right agrees more than even the left does, which is. Or at least some portions of them are beginning to say this. And I know this because I got it from Dan Holloway, who is, a right-wing podcaster, does Drinking Bros. And he had two great lines. One of them was, look, I get it. These are wedge issues. And why are they called wedge issues? Because they're meant to drive a wedge between us so that we don't unify and challenge the really powerful. I was like, yes, brother. Yes. Thank you. That's, look, again, please, if you're on the left, take yes for an answer. That's what we've all been saying for 20 years now. So get away from the wedge issues. Don't let them distract you like that. But the left is right when they say, yes, but we're on the defense here. They think we're going on the offense, but they're the ones passing bills against trans community, et cetera, et cetera. So that what I would say back to the right wing is, can you guys stop passing bills that affect 3.5 people and that drive a wedge between us when we need to actually unite to make sure that we fight anti-corruption and that we're actually we fight corruption and we fight more endless wars, et cetera, right? So now what's the crack in the wall that I'm beginning to see? Well, Trump, just yesterday talking to Time magazine, said they asked him about the trans issue and he ran that ad that was so effective for him. And so trans people were genuinely and I think rightly worried, like, what's he going to do? That ad was successful for him, or I don't know. Some of them believe that it wasn't, but that's fantasy land, right? And so, is he going to take more away, or take away our rights? And then Nancy Mace does the theatrics that she did in Washington, and Trump said, "Yeah, it doesn't affect that many people. Let's move on." And I was like, "Really?" And then they said, Sarah McBride says that this is nonsense about the bathrooms. She's obviously the first transgender congresswoman, and he largely agreed with her. So that was a bit stunning. So if you say, I don't believe him, and they're going to do all these things anyway, okay, fine. Proof's always in the pudding. Absolutely. I get you. And if he does take away constitutional rights, let's all fight back together, right? But if he's saying, I'm going in your direction, I think the right answer is, okay, come a little further, right? And take the win.
Well, it sounds like that's not the response you've gotten. So tell us a little bit more about, as you're bringing this news back to the left, how people have reacted.
Yeah, and parts of it I understand because they've been burned so many times. And, Dave Rube and Jimmy Dore, Tulsi Gabbard. So what they first do is, oh, I'm a classical liberal, but, I just happen to think that the right wing is right about 50% of stuff, 70%, 90%, 200%, right? And that's the pattern, right? Usually. And so, and then some of them are clever enough to like hold on to Medicare for all because they know it's never going to pass anyway, right? So in their mind. So they're like, yeah, I'm still on the left. I'm for Medicare for all. But like everything else, Tucker Carlson's right about, right? Okay, so no, I'm not. I don't know how many times we got to prove ourselves in the Young Turks. We're the oldest show in internet history, longest running show there is, the original YouTubers. Okay, we'll prove it one more time. And then another time and another time. No, our policies are the same. So we're trying to help by uniting the country. And I know that the left, portions of the left, are not in a unity mood, and they're so worried, and there was so much fear. And I think a lot of that fear was legitimate. But my point is, guys, once they do the bad things, let's unite to fight back. But if they're starting to go in the right direction a little bit, instead of saying no and pushing them away, say yes, happy to have you here. Let's keep going in the right path. And they just don't want to. And again, it's not a blanket thing, and we have a huge spectrum on the left as well. But I am seeing a lot of pushback from, I'm amused by this, but thought leaders on the left who are like, I had a thought, we should reject yes for an answer. And we should hate the other side. And somebody got mad at me the other day, significantly mad at me, because he said if you talk to MAGA at all, that's immoral because they are all racist. I'm like, all right, brother, I just don't agree with that. So have at it, Hoss, and you go do your thing, and we'll do our thing, and it's a free country.
Okay, so let's pause actually on that point because it's easy to remember in like 2017 when CNN was in its like most frenzied days. You actually kind of heard stuff like that a lot. You are necessarily racist if you voted for Donald Trump because even if you don't harbor any personal animus that you're conscious of, you're participating, you're complicit in this systemic system of racism. Why, Cenk, do you think it's important to say not everybody who voted for Donald Trump is racist? What makes you confident about that?
Yeah. So another good question. So first of all, the Democrats started with all their voters are racist, and they ended the 2024 election with, "Uh-oh, some portion of our voters are racist." No, you're
Yeah.
just a shit candidate. And you stand for the corrupt establishment, and then you're surprised when people don't vote for you. Like they're so everybody's in a bubble. And people were, on the left and the mainstream media were like, oh my God, MAGA's in such a bubble and they're in a cult, etc. And there was some truth to that, or at least for portions of their spectrum, right? And big portions, I would argue, in back in the day, and I'll come back to that. But then you think mainstream media, you think you're not in a bubble? You think the politicians aren't even corrupt? You think that the donor money doesn't affect them? I don't know a more lunatic bubble than that. You extreme right, extreme left has got nothing on mainstream media, and they're in totally insane bubble. And then and now for the Democrats, they're like, well, since we're God's gift to humanity, and obviously taking corporate cash is like the greatest thing in the world, and we should all brag about it. That can't be the reason we lost. Turns out Latino men are sexist. And white women are racist, okay? And that's why we lost the election. Well, brothers and sisters, if you blame 98% of the country of being racist and sexist, you're not going to win elections. So that's point number one. Point number two is it isn't true. So for my friends on the left, am I saying, oh, I absolve all of MAGA land and they're just the most wonderful human beings? No, Matt Walsh still exists. Okay, Laura Loomer still exists. And Coulter had said they deep hatred. Some folks in there have a deep hatred for the immigrant community, and they don't mean undocumented immigrants. Most people mean undocumented immigrants, but there's some folks who are like, no, Camp of the Saints. My hero is the French character in that book who goes and murders all the immigrants. And Coulter has said that. Steve Bannon has said that. Stephen Miller, etc. They all love that book. Anybody who says they love that book, watch out. Those are the worst, in my opinion. Okay. So does that still exist in some portions of the right? Of course. And people on the right, you think just like if you're not racist and you're on the right, that doesn't mean there aren't people on your side that are, right? So that's what we have to understand. And if just all right, I can get into apparently a very long conversation about that. But to the point you asked about when did I begin to realize it? And look, in 2020, I think I was so mad at MAGA and they were so unquestioning of Trump. And the thing that made me the most mad is I'm like, come on, guys, he didn't win the election. He lost 61 court cases in a row, presented literally no evidence. Fox News had to pay nearly nearly $1 billion for the lies about the election. You think they'd pay $1 billion if they weren't lying? On and on and on, right? And they just nope. Donald Trump is God, and we won the election, etc. So I had every right to be frustrated, and we could still fight over that, right? But he did win this election, so I think we should move on. But that's why I was so skeptical. But I think I overreached, and I remember saying, look, I being in the same camp that a lot of the folks are in today and going, I don't want to talk to those guys. I have no interest in Trump voters. And I don't think I'm going to learn anything from them. Right. Well, that was the wrong attitude. And part of what I think we have to begin to acknowledge is that this base is not the same base as 2016 or even 2020. A lot of this base is filled with the bros from the Rogans and the Portnoy's and Theo Vons, et cetera, and that is a very different base than what he started with in 2016, which was filled with evangelical Christians, and I got no interest in Christian nationalism. But I think some portions of that right-wing populism is our lost tribe of populists. But again, the left will hate me for saying that, and only time will tell.
Well, and that's the next question I had basically is I remember there was a hinge point in 2016, early 2017 when it looked like there was some real self-reflection happening on the left and even in the media, but it was so short-lived. And then immediately sort of there was this pivot to Russia and collusion and all of that. So do you think right now the left is like trending in the right direction, or is it trending exactly in the wrong direction? Again, sort of like doubling and tripling down.
Number one, it matters what we mean by the left, right?
Right, right.
So let's start with the last time where they pretended to do self-reflection, right? There's two different ways of being conciliatory, right? And trying to not really. It's not even an olive branch. It's just like it's. Oh, I hate to say this. Sounds so Hillary Clinton. Listening to him. but okay, but seriously, it's just the human act of listening, right? Hey, what are they saying these days? Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if they mean that, right? So that's the portion that Anna and I and the Young Turks is going with. And by the way, the TYT is a network. We have tons of hosts. We have like over 2 dozen hosts, and some of them don't agree with us. But we do something radical at TYT. We have open minds. So you're allowed to think that, I'm allowed to think this, and then we have a conversation about it, right? So, but there's a second way of being so-called conciliatory, and that's this morning Joe route, right? Where you go and you kiss the ring a little bit and you go, okay, I guess he's the new power at hand. And this is the CNN way of thinking, and we kiss up to power. So we now go kiss up to power. And I get why some people on the left go, oh, that must be what you're doing. And there was I even saw a conspiracy theory that I'm afraid since I'm Muslim that I'm going to be the first arrested or something, and that's why I'm going to kiss up to them, right? Well, okay, everybody's got a theory, right? So no, 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 no. If you go kiss up to them and you say, "Oh, now I think you're right. Oh, I really want access." Well, then yeah, you're doing the wrong thing and you're doing it for your own greed and power and access and all those things. And I get why people are concerned about it. But it is actually possible to be genuine and go, it now that the establishment for the next 4 years has been partially defeated, can we get anything positive done? Because populist left, brothers and sisters, the establishment has been our opponents for as long as I've been around, for a quarter of a century. So now that their walls have been partially torn down, let's go inside and see if we can get some positive things done inside that castle, right? Okay, so again, that's my take on it. But one more thing about the left. In my opinion, there's three different portions of the left. There's the establishment left slash Democrats. That's the hopeless crew: Biden, Pelosi, Morning Joe, The View, etc. I can't stand those guys. I mean, they're leaders. Their voters are good people who are being misdirected by those folks. And then you've got what I'm calling the max left, what the right would call the woke left, extreme left, et cetera. So the max left also has good folks, and they also mean well, and they're more closer to the populist left on some of the policies, and they should be our natural allies. So we disagree on some of the policies that I consider fringe and they consider essential. That's called America. Let's just disagree without assuming terrible intent and you're going to turn right wing and you're doing it for money, etc. Hold on, let's find out, right? And then I think the heart of the left is populist left. Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, Young Turks. We believe in economic populism, higher wages, universal health care, paid family leave. I can, have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau make sure that there are cops on the Wall Street beat. Don't let the Wall Street robber barons rob us blind. Anti-war, anti-corruption. That's the heart of the left, and those are I think, the best people on earth. And those are the folks that can effectuate change, and the ones that I'm trying to influence in a direction that I think is more positive.
Are you optimistic that they're going in a more positive direction?
Yes and no. So right now, no. So, but Emily, I've been through this so many times. So whenever we try to do something different or something positive, bold, right, on the Young Turks, we immediately get pushback from other hosts, other influencers, right? Oh no, they're terrible. And yeah, there's a little bit of like, and sometimes it's very, very literal. Make sure you unsubscribe from them and subscribe to us, the real left, the pure left, the 280% left, right? Okay, all right, look, run your thing, okay? So, but there's a lot of people who genuinely are concerned. Like, oh, wait, are they going in the Morning Joe direction? Are they this, that? No problem. So what happens is, unfortunately, good people are convinced by those guys for a while, and this is the normal pattern. And then they'll poke their head back into Young Turks and go, well, I don't get it. In fact, one of the hosts in one of the things that I watched, said it too. He's like, I don't get it though. Every time I watch the Young Turks, they sound really good and they sound really like they're totally on our side. And the other two are like, shh, 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 shh.
That's hilarious.
So the people will come and they'll check it out, and of course we've got our core audience that hasn't gone anywhere, and they're like, oh yeah, these are the guys they're the like. Are the other shows as obsessed with policy as we are? You know, I started Just Democrats, and I don't. This is a long story, but I'll just give you a portion of it here that's relevant. I got kicked out for some BS cancel culture stuff, right? But did I then turn around and get bitter and go, okay, make sure you vote against the Just Democrats. Don't give them any money. They were mean to me. Me, 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 me. No, I did the exact opposite. I said, guys, eyes on the prize. If they don't win, we'll have no allies to push for policy inside Congress. So forget about me. Forget about Just Democrat leaders. Forget about everything. Eyes on the prize. Let's get folks elected. Now, I think they went a little awry after they got elected, but that's, MSNBC. I turned down a lot of money to do the right thing, but it's okay. We'll prove it one more time and then 8 more times. Come and watch and you'll see. Yep. No, they were right. Left-wing populists, Bernie and Roe agreed completely with them. I mean, did Bernie turn MAGA? I mean, is that the absurdity that we're going to get into now? Because Bernie and I agree nearly 100%.
Yeah, so I know actually this is interesting. You've been in touch with Elon Musk, and I'm sure you've been getting a lot of questions about this. I'm curious, Cenk, how you found him in conversation, if he's been genuinely really open.
Yeah, no, I don't ever want to overhype anything. That's why I said, like, I didn't come up with the ideas of cutting the Pentagon. That's been around forever,
Yeah.
and the right wing already agreed to it, right? So they're not agreeing to my proposal. They already believed it, right?
Right,
So,
okay.
and in this case, I just said it on X, and Elon responded, and then Donald Trump Jr. responded. But there's no like secret meetings where Elon and I are hanging out, grabbing sushi, and going, "Oh yeah, what should we do with the left, huh?" Okay, or what should we do with the Pentagon? Like it hasn't gotten that deep at all. I mean, Donald Trump Jr. said about the when Elon said, "Give me a suggestion," I said, at a minimum, we should make sure the generals can't work as defense contractors after they retire, because that's a massive conflict of interest. They funnel billions of dollars to those companies because they're going to make millions after they retire. And again, it was the right wing base that was like, yes, 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 yes. That's what Elon and Donald Trump Jr. are responding to, their own base, not me. So, but beyond that, we haven't gone to any internal conversations beyond it.
No, that's good, because that's one of the things I wanted to ask is if you've heard from other people, like outside of Elon. You mentioned Donald Trump Jr. You've been going on all of these shows. So we just talked about sort of the response you've gotten from the left during your listening tour, your Clintonian listening tour, Cenk. But what have you gotten from the right? How have you found the right throughout this?
Yeah, here we go. I'm going to brace for impact. They've been really nice. Don't hate me, left. Don't hate me. Hey,
They're coming
watch
for you.
the interviews. Yeah, I know you're not going to watch the interviews. It would be platforming them in your own eyeballs. I got it. But they already have the big platforms. They don't need you to platform them. So they just can't get it out of their head. Like, oh, Kamala Harris shouldn't go on Joe Rogan. That would platform him. No, he's platforming you, not the other way around. Okay, Trump got 50 million views. He got platformed. They can't step out of it. Okay, so do I still have heated debates and arguments with the right wing from time to time when I go in their shows? Of course, right? We'll argue about Social Security. We'll argue about portions of healthcare. We'll argue about trans rights, etc. Right? But when we agree, they don't fight, and they're not, being jerks about it. Okay, you could claim it's a trap. You can claim I'm a sucker and naive, etc. And you could watch those and go, oh yeah, all right, and then take it in any direction you like. But they've been very nice. They've been cordial. They want to have the conversation, and so I'm gonna say it. They've been open-minded. So if you don't believe me, that's okay. If you think it's a trick, that's okay. But I'm telling you what I actually saw with my own eyes and heard with my own ears.
And this is my last question. Like, what do you think did that? Because there was a time when, even as someone on the right, I could admit it was the right that was really pro censorship. There are still elements of the right that are pro censorship, but that you were very comfortable suppressing different viewpoints and would shut others out of conversation. So that may have been always a small amount of the right. The American people are complicated, and most people aren't, hardened ideologues. But it is true the right is now very open to having a lot of these conversations, to even shifting on policy. What do you think happened, Cenk? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint when that transition happened. But so look, in the old days, the Republicans were unbearable to a man, right? All establishment Republicans, all cancel culture 24/7. When they worked in cahoots with the establishment Democrats or when they were against Democrats on the left overall, right? So I think that part of what happened with MAGA was that they got canceled so many times that they started absolutely despising the idea of canceling anything, including conversations. So it became part of their ethos and their culture to be more open to different ideas. And some of those ideas I don't agree with, but at least they're open, and I think that that is a generally a good thing. And I get the concern on the left, yeah, but they're open to things that aren't true, like, oh my God, vaccines cause autism, etc. I know, guys, but what the establishment slash left, and it's complicated because it's different portions of those groups. But what they did for a long time was we're not platforming, we're not allowing the conversation because we think it's a dangerous conversation. So we're going to force you to shut up. And that's what the right started rebelling against. Now, does the right have their own cancel culture still to this day? Absolutely. I mean, Trump talks about arresting people who protest him or arresting people that didn't riot but are just protesting. So that's like, hey, January 6th, you got to arrest the people who broke into the building. But there were more people who listened to his speech and never broke into the building. Why would we arrest them? That doesn't make any sense. But Trump is saying that, and a lot of his allies are saying that about left-wing protesters. Oh my God, if you protest Israel, you're getting arrested on a college campus, right? And then Trump even said maybe we deport the people who dared to protest against Israel. So there's definitely still a cancel culture left in the right wing. But overall, they were rebelling against that idea, certainly coming from the left and the establishment. Now, why did the left get more close to it? I don't know. I don't know how we got some portions of the max left who thought, no, you're not allowed to have a different opinion than me. But yeah, a lot of them do think that. Not all of them, by the way. There's a bunch of max left hosts, meaning on policy issues at TYT, and I debate them all the time, and they never say, Cenk, you must have my opinion. They just say, this is my opinion, right? But there are a lot of max left folks who think, no, if you have that opinion, especially if you have a large show like we do, you shouldn't be allowed to have it because you're hurting. This is their latest excuse. You're hurting vulnerable communities.
Yes.
Yeah, but wait, who made you the king of the vulnerable communities?
Exactly.
Why do you get to decide what's right and wrong for the vulnerable communities? Because I don't agree with you on that analysis. So I don't agree with you when you talk about, oh, vulnerable communities want misdemeanors, felonies turned into misdemeanors, so there's more criminals on the streets. It turns out that's not what they wanted at all. Oakland recalled their mayor because of that 65-35. Those are black and brown communities going, I don't know what knuckleheads thought we were pro-crime, but that crime hits us, and we are not in favor of it at all. In fact, you, gone. 62/3 of Oakland going, we're not interested in that, okay? So, look, I know people hate it when I say it, but I was right, and black and brown communities don't want you to be the king of the left and have these max positions that they don't agree with. But on top of that, there's this hilarious thing about Cenk. I appreciate that you're allowing me to say whatever I want, but I am not allowing you to say what you want. Good luck with
shut
that.
the fuck up.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but good luck with that, man. Look, the establishment has been trying to shut me up for the whole 25 years I've been around. The right wing's trying to shut me up. Now some portions of the max left are trying to shut me up. I don't know when you guys are going to get the memo. It ain't going to work, okay? And this whole idea that, no, we have to be authoritarian and our idea is the correct idea. No one else is allowed to disagree. Even 2% disagreement means banishment, heresy. You're MAGA now. You're this and that. Yeah, that's a terrible idea. Terrible. And I will fight against that with all my vigor. And so, I wish they wouldn't go in that direction. But some do. Remember, not even all the max left think that at all. Nobody's getting canceled at TYT. That's just not going to happen.
Well, that's great news. Cenk, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Emily. I appreciate the conversation. And look, come watch the Young Turks 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern every day. Find out for yourself. Don't let people take 12-second clips and trick you into thinking that we're whatever they're pretending we are. Okay, come watch 6 p.m. Eastern every day, Monday through Friday. And my public service announcement. We're for open hearts and open minds. Please, guys, keep an open mind. Hear people out, then make your conclusion.
Open hearts, open minds. Cenk, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Really appreciate it.
Okay, so I think maybe what I just heard Cenk say is that it's even in the left's best interest if the college campuses get back to normal and we stop teaching stupid ideas like you're necessarily violent and bigoted if you disagree with me. I don't know. Maybe that could be helpful for everyone. Just an idea. It was awesome to have Cenk here. He's been doing such interesting stuff lately. He's always been really interesting, but lately as things here in DC are happening, things down in West Palm Beach are happening, and things are happening in the media up in Midtown Manhattan and in their studios here on Capitol Hill. It's really, really, really good to have that conversation. Really important to have that conversation. So I was very excited to have Cenk on the show. Thank you to everybody for watching. If you subscribe, you're helping to make this possible, so please make sure to subscribe here on the channel. We appreciate it enormously. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I was told lately we have a lot of podcast listeners. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It really does help. And if you want to support the show, you can get a premium experience over at Undercurrents.tv. Undercurrents.tv. You get a full premium experience and access to premium content at Unheard. So thank you for watching, and we will be back here soon with more Undercurrents.